This is not a test. Don't expect to be impressed. Put on your life vest. Sit down your armrest. It's time to stray from the grind. Don't take my hand, 'cause you'll find no peace of mind. Side quest.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Authors and Dragons Side Quest, the every other week non game where we get on and pick a topic or bring on an interesting guest or just rant for an hour. Since, you probably noticed there's
We
no
have no
interesting
interesting
guests
guests.
here. My name is Rick Quilterian, and joining me is MK Gibson, aka Gibby. How you doing tonight, man?
Well, brother, I am doing very well. Thanks for having me on again. So
Well, I
this
mean,
topic is
it's not having you on. You're part of the show.
I'm not on the website yet. Until I'm on the website, I'm not part of the family. So that's
You, you
I
don't think
don't know
of the
whose
website
job that is.
well, that's the thing. It's anybody's job. Literally, we give the login to the website to anybody who wants it, but nobody fucking takes it. So it winds up being when I have time to update the website. I don't have time to update the website all the time. So then people are like, "Well, I guess I'm not part of the A&D family because like, nobody added me to the website." It's like, do it yourself.
Well, one, I don't sound anything like that. My voice is nothing like that. Your impersonation of me, sir, is hurtful. Two, when I joined this motley band of fools, one of my author friends in the Netherlands, she asked like, "So what's it like?" I'm like, "It's really cool, but no, there is no leader. It is all satellite people, and it's like herding cats." And I was under the like, these guys got their shit together when I first came to the con, and then I'm like, oh, they don't know anything. And this is amazing. It is building the ship as it's sailing. So,
Oh, it is 100% amazing that we've been able to keep this shit together for like 8 years, with nobody really in charge. Because the way things happen is basically somebody decides to do something, and as long as nobody else screams and says, "No, don't do that," then they pretty much do, and that's the way it works. But sometimes, yeah, it is herding cats because we say, "Hey, if you want something done, take the bull by the horns and go do it." And then people are just like, "Well, that's work. I'm not going to do that." and stuff doesn't get and stuff to like just and stuff doesn't get done until somebody does it. But that's not the point of this week's side
that
quest.
is not the point of
Like
today.
like I could bitch and moan for almost anything for about an hour, but I don't want to. And you
Are
know,
you sure?
I definitely don't want to bitch and moan about you, Gibby, because you showed up
Oh,
tonight.
fair. Yeah.
And like
Well, yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
the guy that's always available. I think that's why it's kind of like I'm the guy from Night Court. I'm just there. So, but I know this topic is near and dear to your heart, which is what, Rick?
which is the big G himself. And no, I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about Godzilla.
Ooh, Godzilla.
And I probably just,
I
and if we have any any, I guess, any Catholic listeners, they probably just they got excited for a second, then we're like, "Fuck you, man."
well, good. I'm glad they at least they curse. Maybe they need to go take some penances for that. All right. So, how far back does the love of Godzilla go for you?
Love Godzilla goes back. I won't say how many years, but it goes back to about the time when I was like 3, because I remember watching King Kong versus Godzilla in my grandparents' living room, and just absolutely falling in love with it. And then I watched the original Godzilla, and I got really upset because Godzilla dies at the end of that. Spoilers.
Yeah, from like a 1957 movie or something.
Then like not years later, like a couple of months later, I was back at my grandparents' place, and Godzilla versus Megalon was on. I saw a commercial for it, and I was like, "But Godzilla's dead." My like 3-year-old brain could not could not understand this concept of, wait, how is Godzilla here when I just saw him get like turned into into oxygen destroyer goo. But yes, my obsession with Godzilla goes back to about those formative years. Um, and like ever since then, I have just been a huge Godzilla fan.
For me, I would say okay, similar, not the same, but similar. you're an East Coast kid like me. I'm only a couple states south of you. I assume that on Saturday and Sundays you'd have the Sunday matinee on like channel 45, whatever station that was playing out of, like sometimes the UHF channels. Ladies and gentlemen, for you younger folks out there, there is this thing called broadcast television. But right before church and after church, they have these amazing power hours of like monster movie and kung fu theater.
Oh,
And
Kung
it
Fu
was
Theater.
Oh, right, right. So, and yes, the days are great when, especially like if USA was doing it, and you'd get like the Kung Fu Theater for like two back to back, like the Five Fists of Death or whatever, and then it cuts to like King Kong versus Godzilla right afterwards,
Yep.
and like you'd get these weird matinees, and that's where my time with Godzilla first came into place, because it's even my son who's only watched he's 12, he's only watched Kong Skull Island because he saw me watching it one day, and he came in and sat down, he watched and he really enjoyed it, but he knows all the kaiju just through nerd osmosis. And that is why that's the pervasiveness of Godzilla. 1954. I just looked it up. First movie came out in 1954. So for 50, 60 years, 70 years at this point, Jesus. Uh, this big lizard has captured our hearts. Now, let me ask you, do you think this goes back to like the dinosaurs, like us nerds growing up with dinosaurs? And this is just the next logical step before Jurassic Park.
Oh, well, I mean, well, okay, Jurassic. I did not grow up with Jurassic Park. I'm probably a little bit older than you, but
By a couple of years, but you're also wearing a Jurassic Park shirt.
well, I'm wearing a Jurassic Park shirt, sure, but so yes, it definitely comes down to dinosaurs. Like as a young as around that same age is when I started getting into dinosaurs, and Godzilla represented pretty much the ultimate dinosaur. So yeah, and I mean, you mentioned before broadcast TV. I want to just add, it's like for the youngins listening, those like those long spindly metal things you see on top of like the roofs of buildings. Those are not just lightning rods. We actually used to get TV reception through those. I know, mind blowing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it has a lot to do with like dinosaurs. And the whole prehistoric thing, because even like even King Kong, the original King Kong draws upon that, because Kong is on this prehistoric island with dinosaurs and stuff. So like just kind of putting those together, it's like kind of sparks the imagination, because I think also is like as just people, as humans, like people in general, for the most part, are fascinated with the concept of monsters.
Well, we are. I mean, obviously, monsters go back to like ancient folklore. I mean, mythology. The Greeks, the Romans, the Babylonians, the Japanese. There's demons. There's Oni. There's minotaurs. We love the concept of monsters. But
Dragons.
beyond that, I think dragons exactly. Um, I think we're also fascinated by the thing that can eat us for being the top of the food. That's why Shark Week is still a thing, and like that fear of sharks, even though the numbers are way low. There's that concept of like something primal can destroy you. And what's the ultimate primal thing? Something bigger than a building and it's pissed off. And it our monuments to ourselves that we build up get smashed down with like in a man by a rubber suit and a big tail, And but it's goddamn, it's so fascinating that like this IP will not die. And one of the reasons we're bringing it up is because what happened? Japan released a new movie, and America's following suit with its latest with its monarchs.
Yeah, we got like kind of a triple threat of Godzilla going on right now. Godzilla -1 came out,
Right.
which has been getting rave reviews,
Mm-hmm.
and we have on Apple TV the Monarch Legacy of Monsters show, which I've seen so far, and so far is pretty darn good.
I do not have Apple TV, and is it worth getting the free trial just to watch Ted Lasso and this, or should I wait till it's all come out and like binge it?
I mean, yeah, I would say I would like right now. Right now, there's a deal. I mean, I got 3 months free. That's going to take me through the end of the year, and I
Oh
can get a lot
snap!
of TV viewing in at that time.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd say the free trial is worth it. And then just this past week, we got a trailer for the new Godzilla Kong movie. I think it's Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, or
Godzilla
whatever.
X Kong,
Yeah,
yes. And I saw that trailer because I for one, like I actually enjoy this latest trend of the Godzilla and King Kong stuff. Not the Godzilla that came out in 2014 or whatever so much. It was cool, but it's way too many humans talking, and that's not what I want. I don't care how much Bryan Cranston there is. I don't care how much the guy that played Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are in it. I don't care about that. I want some kaiju action. It's one of the reasons like Pacific Rim, when that hit, that was exactly what I wanted. I wanted like giant robots versus kaiju. But as those movies went on, they became a little bit more fast and furious in their
Yeah.
tone because they started getting crazier and crazier. Like Godzilla King of the Monsters, like it actually was a lot of dumb fun.
Yeah, I mean that's my favorite in the series because okay, so as a kid watching these movies, to my child mind, they looked like Godzilla King of the Monsters looked like on the screen. So like as I got older and I would rewatch these movies, I was like, those don't look quite as cool as I remember them looking as my brain got a little bit more
Right.
sophisticated. But like watching Godzilla King of the Monsters in the theater was awesome for me because like this was literally like this is how I envisioned all these monsters when I was a child. This scale, like like the horror of like that, and that's why I love that movie, just because it brought back that terror I felt as a little child, but it was a good terror. Um, not like oh, Uncle Jack's locked me in the locked me in the bad boy closet again. Terror.
Oh my God. Okay. Damn you, Uncle Chuck. No, I think there's the one thing I also like about these movies. Now, maybe the Monarch show goes into it some more. But whenever I watch like an Indiana Jones, a Tomb Raider, white people raiding other people's shit type movies, there's always ancient cultures, like undiscovered cultures that we're just learning about.
Yeah.
You think but whenever like these things show, like there's always some underground temple that's very in the mountains of madness. It's very H.P. Lovecraft. There's this ancient society that we knew nothing about
Yeah.
that knew of these things and like built these temples into their honor, and that kind of like lore intrigues me because
That lore intrigues me too, which makes it kind of annoying that every time we see something like that in one of these movies, what do? They blow it the fuck up before the end of the movie. And it's like, God damn it.
that's a good point. Every goddamn time, it's like, hey, we could have studied this. Maybe they have cures to. Oh, never mind. It's rubble.
And it's
It's
not even
hot
that.
rubble.
It's like you go back to like all these movies from like that time, like the Lost World and stuff. It's like, hey, here's this plateau that stood here for millions of years, and white people found it and it blew up a week later.
That is, you know what? Damn us. You're right. We did do that. But
The land that time
so
forgot. It's like, oh, hey, this place has been here forever. Like, I mean, it's the land that time forgot. Oh, but now it's blowing up because there are people.
now the one dumb thing I'm going to say, and I know they had to explain because they need to create a fast travel system. I think it was in Godzilla versus Kong, almost newest one, which was Godzilla's fast travel across the planet through like tubes through the hollow earth.
Yeah,
Like, I get it. It's at least it's more explained than the fast travel of Game of Thrones in the later seasons. But damn it, that lizard could travel
yeah,
many miles in a very short amount of time
yeah. I
through
mean,
this network
there's no
system.
doubt as the MonsterVerse movies have gone. Like, I was recently ranting on TikTok about this, and that is that they started off like grounded. Second movie was still grounded, but getting a little bit like, and now we've kind of gone. Now it's kind of like they've been Joel Schumachered a bit,
A little.
where it's just like every like one thing that bothers me about the MonsterVerse movies is yes, the first one is grounded. It's pretty grounded in reality outside of the whole 400-foot tall, like atomic
Right.
monster thing. The second one is relatively grounded. There's a few elements there but like it takes place 5 years later, and there's a few parts there that may have me going. I don't think like I see how fast buildings get built. I don't think they'd be able to do all that in 5 years. And then Godzilla versus Kong takes place, I think, another 5 years later, and suddenly we have gravity cars and like all this stuff. And we're able to build freaking Mecha Godzillas, and that's the point where I'm sitting back going, okay, like, and again, I am somebody that like I don't mind goofiness in films. I don't mind like things. I completely bought the whole concept of Jaegers and like Pacific Rim. What annoys me is when the series starts off grounded in reality and little by little, turns into like we go in like literally 10 years from okay, we have normal planes and like and guns to oh now we have phasers. That's kind of where I go.
Well, that's
Is this does this make sense? Is this sloppy storytelling?
that's what I mean by the Fast and Furiousness of it. No
Yeah,
disrespect to that franchise that makes billions of dollars, and I'm a writer over here not making that.
yeah,
those series started as a street racer, as a Donnie Brasco. It was a Point Break guy infiltrates the thing. But 10 movies later, they're in space and flying cars off buildings and doing the impossible because the cool factor outweighs the logic.
Yeah.
Who cares how they got there? They went from being like nobody street racers to like international spy, demolitionist, black ops, whatever they are. I don't know.
Yeah.
So in these
And-
flicks, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say at a certain point with this is like, there I also have to weigh against that whole concept of like sometimes you just have to say, okay, screw it, I'm gonna turn my brain off and just enjoy it. And I mean, one thing I will say is like, yes, for all the things that annoy me about Godzilla versus Kong, there's a lot of fun parts of the movie. Where it's just like, okay, I'm like, yes, I'm my suspension of disbelief is completely like, set on fire here, but I don't care because I'm watching a giant monkey with an axe fight a nuclear murder dragon who
Right.
just blew a hole to the center of the earth.
Well, see, and I love when they start putting these worlds together. Obviously, I mean, we talk about the Marvel and the DC and all these cinematic universes that we have today. I mean, Kong and Godzilla have fought in the past. This is not a new concept to put them together, like this whole monster universe. So once these things start partnering up, like my sweet spot, like I said, was Kong Skull Island. It was like I'm going to call it a perfect movie for me. I'm not calling it a perfect movie in general. It's like it is just goofy enough, just crazy enough, just cinematic enough, and just everything enough that like. And Samuel Jackson basically doing a Heart of Darkness thing. He's got to kill a giant gorilla. It hit everything that I wanted to do. So when Kong and Godzilla met in Kong versus Godzilla, and I'm like, I can't say no to this. I have just fuck me in the eyes with it because this is I need this. And I'm sad to say I was rooting for Kong more than Godzilla through that whole thing.
I mean, here's the thing. I enjoyed Kong Skull Island as well. I put it as my second favorite MonsterVerse movie because, yeah, what I liked about it is even outside of the giant monsters, it's a decent adventure movie. It has likable characters. I mean, come on, Samuel Jackson is likable. John Goodman is likable. Tom Hiddleston is in it. Brie Larson. It's like the
half the
who's who of
Marvel
Marvel
cast.
Universe.
Yeah, exactly.
And most of them look like they're having fun in the movie.
Oh, that's a very good point. When they look like they're having fun comes across. And it's like, and there's all these other actors. Like the dude, did you watch the Loki show? The guy that plays Casey, the guy, he's in that too. He's one of the people. Half the cast of the movie who did NWA are in it. It is an amazing cast. But we're moving on to Godzilla. I don't know much about Godzilla minus the one other than the trailer and there are a couple of the reviews I've seen. And I've heard that Godzilla is quote the bad guy again.
Oh, he's very much so.
So what are your thoughts? Like, should Godzilla be the bad guy?
I haven't officially seen the movie, but there are so many clips on TikTok of people like, with their phones in the movie. I have literally seen like the beginning. I have seen the end. I have seen good chunks of the middle. There's probably like very small parts of the movie I haven't actually seen. And like, it's just like, and it's one of those things where I don't want to watch it on TikTok, but I turn it and I find myself just glued to the screen anyway. And I mean, from what I can tell, it's like it's a bit of a mashup of some previous movies. They taken some elements of the previous movies. Yes, Godzilla is a bad guy, and like, yeah, he's a force of nature. He's his whole thing is, yeah. Apparently, from what I understand, this is like a monster that's like, that's mutated from the radiation, is in constant pain, and thus really fucking pissed off.
Okay.
And pretty much in a I'm gonna kill everybody mood all the time. From what I've seen of it, it does look like the parts I've seen, like I said, which at this point, what's an hour and a half movie? I've probably seen a good hour of it.
Oh wow, okay.
It looks like it's a pretty damn good movie. Yeah. The people on TikTok are just merciless when it comes to this shit.
Of course.
But
no, I want to see it. When it comes to some streaming service or when I can just rent it like that, I can't wait to see it because I want to sit down. Like, and the same thing with the Kong. Well, I think it's also called the New Empire, but the Godzilla X Kong. Now, do you have the trailer?
Yeah, we have the trailer. Why don't we get to that in a second? Because why don't we talk about Monarch first?
Okay, yeah, please.
So Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. One thing I like about, and that's kind of what puts it at odds. That's what puts Godzilla X Kong at odds to me, is because Monarch Legacy of Monsters, even though it's a pretty big budget show, they've had pretty good special effects with monsters on it. It does seem pretty grounded in reality. Like it supposedly takes place right after the first Godzilla, so nobody's flying around in gravity cars or like doing
Okay.
wacky shit like that. And it just kind of and the show itself does seem to take itself pretty seriously, um, which, like I said, just kind of makes it. I'm not saying I'm going to hate the new movie. I'm just saying that it it goes kind of at odds. It's kind of like,
It's going a little crazy. All right, so
yeah,
pitch me the Monarch thing because I know very little
yeah.
about it. So
All
okay,
right.
I'm I'm a fan of the series. So
Mhm.
pinch me.
Okay. So Monarch Legacy of Monsters,
Take two.
it spans between right after Godzilla happened, and it keeps jumping back in time. And it's jumped back in time to the 50s. It's jumped back in time to the 70s. Um, I guess to explain how this organization and has been tracking these monsters, but it's also how it's affected this one family's life. It's based so the family that it involves is, remember John Goodman's character from Kong
Yes,
Skull Island?
yes.
It's all his family that is like kind of dealing with the fallout of this. It's like his son, um, his son, his grandson, and stuff that are dealing with this. We actually see John Goodman's character. John Goodman makes an appearance in the first episode,
Oh, cool. Very cool.
and as we go back further in time, we meet his character younger, who's played by a different actor. So it's kind of like what was his name, Bill Randa. So it's kind of like just like the story of like Bill Randa from from then till after he died, to like how it's like how this stuff is kind of messing up his family as they're trying to figure out what's going on.
Now, if I remember, was it in Kong Skull Island that John Goodman's character, Bill, he was a survivor, wasn't he? Like a petty officer on one of those
Yes.
battleships that was attacked, and he was one of the few survivors, and he saw the monster, but no one believed him,
Yeah.
despite the
Exactly.
big slash mark down the side of the ship.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Now,
there is a bit of a continuity thing with that, because we saw we supposedly saw the ship, um, but the ship it shows up again, except the ship's like 5,000 miles away in the middle of a jungle. So that's one thing they haven't explained. Like, okay, we saw pictures of this ship where it was like kind of grounded on a beach. What happened? So maybe they'll explain that at some point, but that's a little bit, seems to be a continuity error. But yes, we that is kind of a big thing with regards to that.
and has the show so far gone into any? This is just my nerd because I'm just curious.
Mhm.
What also in the Skull Island movie, um,
Hollow
Riley,
Earth?
John C. Riley's character was talking about things coming up out of the Hollow Earth, and they started talking about the Hollow Earth thing and like the Skull Walkers or whatever he called them. Those skull faced batwing things are coming up out of the ground, and Kong was part of the things to stop them. Does it go into any more of those monsters, where they come from, why they come from?
Okay. So we've definitely seen some new monsters in this
Okay.
show, and at least one of them does seem to come from underground and stuff. They haven't gotten too deep into that yet. I'm hoping they do, but it's kind of like hinted at it.
Okay.
I mean, there's only 4 episodes at this point so far. I don't know
Okay.
how many
Okay.
they're doing for the season,
So
but
no chance of getting some of that lore that we saw in like Godzilla King of the Monsters and things like that, with like underground cities with like built to like a giant monkey god, any of that weird stuff yet.
yeah, I don't think we're gonna get that. I think we might get hints of that, but I don't think we're going to get too deep into that. But I don't know.
And how about I think they hinted that again in King of the Monsters, that was it King Ghidra, the three-headed one, was not from our world.
Yeah,
That it was like some kind of like either
yeah.
cosmic entity or something like that. Uh,
So the modern point of this movie is right after the 2014 Godzilla movie.
oh, right,
So
right.
I mean, it's possible they might like they might touch, like, I don't know what the licensing is there. They might not even be able to like say Ghidorah in the show. Um,
Okay.
but no, there hasn't been any mentions of that. In fact, so far the only the only Toho monster they've mentioned, the only monster from the series they've mentioned. Um, they did mention Kong. We did get a view of we did get a quick view of Skull Island at one point. I think at the first episode, but other than that, it's been Godzilla and a few new monsters they've introduced.
Okay, that's very cool, man.
Yeah.
I'm okay. You sold me. I'm gonna have to get this. I'm gonna have to get Apple TV for like at least a short period of time, because one, our fans over on the Andy Discord, like Grizzdrop, is constantly telling me I need to watch Ted Lasso, and this is just now it's a twofer. So there's at least two things I need to watch. So I need
Yeah,
to get this for at least a
yeah.
period
I've,
of
I've
time.
been watching this show on there called C. which is basically Jason Momoa in the future when all of humanity is
Oh,
blind.
right.
And apparently, I think there's 2 seasons of it. Season 2 is pretty decent, but season 1 is a little dopey.
This one friend of mine knows I hate musicals, but he keeps telling me I need to watch Schmigadoon. It's like some musical like show on there, with like it's like a Brigadoon musical type thing where the
Mhm.
I don't I mean, don't make me rant again about musicals, but these people. So
But all right, so you wanted to talk about the trailer.
well,
So what we're
I'm
gonna
just
do, what,
curious.
what we're gonna do is something a little different here, and hopefully YouTube doesn't smack us down, and hopefully Steve doesn't yell at us for causing copyright issues. We're gonna watch the trailer here, and we're gonna kind of do I guess a reaction thing live, and maybe kind of an analysis. So let me call that up. So here is the trailer for Kong: The New Empire. Blah blah blah. Seismograph here.
Oh, it's always good to start with the seismograph and
Yeah.
let your audience know how big something's going to be.
Yeah. Here,
I think that's
there's
where
subtitles, so I'm just going to turn off the sound because
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's kind of
No, that's
distracting me.
perfectly fine. I'm pretty sure that's where I saw Devastator's balls.
All right, so now we have this giant hand coming up through the through the
Okay, am
ground.
I the only one that thought there was a transformer for a hot second?
The first time I watched it, I was like, okay, are we getting Mechanic-Kong from like King Kong
Like
Escapes?
it looks like a Bayverse hand coming out of the
Yeah,
ground,
it
and
does.
And
then that's where we get that first hint of like of a bit of goofiness.
yeah.
Kong's wearing a glove.
He's got the
Kong's
Nintendo
wearing a
Power
power
Glove.
glove.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the
Okay,
motherfucker's
some more of
playing
the hollow.
Nintendo.
All right, some more of the Hollow Earth stuff because clearly,
Yeah.
like it's like everything's wedged inside this thing.
Yeah. We got Kong here.
Kong's
He's
looking
like,
a little old.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, he
Now,
was young in the 50s, but now he's got a weapon. He's got that weapon he got from Godzilla.
Now here's where I gotta get my first issue here. Is I know this is a first trailer, and we're not really like necessarily supposed to judge on special effects, but that doesn't really look too good to me.
And especially in a still like this, it looks more like a painting. It looks less
Yeah.
like a fleshed out thing. Now, Kong looks
like
good,
it
but
looks like a CGI ape to me. It doesn't strike me as
well,
like
it is a
real.
CGI ape. That's
Well,
the thing.
duh, I know, but I want to believe, man.
Sure. Well, either make it cartoony or more believable, but not in between.
Yeah. And also, here's where the continuity freak in me is going to go a little nuts. Is that okay? So in Kong Skull Island, Kong was 100 feet tall. By this time, Kong's 3 times, or like more than 3 times. He's like 350 feet tall. Technically speaking, looking at the scale of this thing to Kong, this thing should be about the same size as Kong when Kong was fully grown on Skull Island. Which
I see what you're getting at.
Yeah,
he looks like. I mean, I put him probably around 100 feet, maybe like at 80, 90 feet. But yeah, it's some little like ape-like child.
And again, that might be me being a little nitpicky. It probably is. Yeah. Okay, we see more with the axe.
We're downstairs underground. We see some underground like caves and big monkey skulls and again
big monkeys. We have Kong with glowing eyes. See, one thing I like, as cool as it is to see, like I guess the Hollow Earth, you also lose a sense of scale with it. I've noticed.
You do. You 100% do. Can I also just point out, like, Kong has got a sweet ass. Like that man, that monkey. They always show his butt shots. You never see Kong's junk, but they have zero problem showing that he's he's got a sculpted ass, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, Kong works the glutes.
He does. A lot of power left, like lunges.
Yeah, he's like I can't beat Godzilla in a fight, but Godzilla can't beat this ass.
But I will twerk like it's nobody's business.
Okay. Now we have basically Godzilla going Super Saiyan Rose here.
Yeah, he is like was it Rachel who said, like, why is he magenta now?
Yep. And here's the thing. Oh, okay.
Is this
Oh,
supposed to
okay,
be
well,
an evil, like an evil Caesar
yeah,
from he's more of he's a chimp
yeah,
as opposed to a gorilla,
or like an orangutan or so.
like
Here's the other part
orangutan?
where
Yeah,
the special effects fail me is that this thing doesn't look very good.
he doesn't look scary either.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Like I look at this and it looks like he's giving a speech on the Senate floor in Planet of the Apes.
he looks like a drunk Irish father with the bald head and the ginger, and like, 'cause it's like, as if I do this right now, like, "Ah," like
Oh
that's
my
not
God,
far off. See,
that would be great. Like to give a nod to the original guy, like King Kong versus Godzilla, where Kong kept getting drunk on like the berry juice. It just turns
yeah.
out that this ape is angry all the time because he's just pissed drunk. He just
Seamus
eats fermented
orangutan,
fruit all the time, and he's just an angry drunk. He's like, "Come on, bro, fight me, fight me."
But hey, I'm glad they put extra special attention in the saliva in his mouth. That
Yes,
really sells it. But like that hair, like the lack of hair, it's just
yeah, yeah. And the other thing that doesn't help for me is they made him like his arms super thin, like an orangutan, and that really doesn't work for me for giant monsters. Like like especially in a series where the giant monsters all so far have always been shown to be giant, huge, bulky, have weight to them. So when you have when you have this dude showing up like he's been like chugging like alcoholic slim fasts,
right, right.
I don't know. It doesn't really work for
Well,
me.
the
So
skinny
again, I'm not
arms.
trying to suck the joy out of it. This is just my thing because I am a continuity freak. I've always been a continuity freak.
But you're not wrong. The skinny thing works in anime. You can have a skinny person be powerful because it's the way it's designed to
Yeah.
be. Like the Vampire Hunter D is a very lanky,
Mhm.
Britishy looking David Tennant guy, but he could have some power. But in something like this, it's like it looks like Kong was just going to snap his arm,
Yeah.
because yeah,
Yeah. And and here's the thing. I understand that the square cube law basically says none of these monsters could fucking exist.
of
But
course,
at least here's the thing. Like a lot of people complain that Godzilla kind of looked fat in the first like movie and stuff, but it made sense because it's like okay, this is a beast at 300 feet tall. He's shaped like a triangle, but it makes it at least semi a little more plausible that this thing is not
well, he also
collapsing under its own weight.
he swims through the Arctic. He needs the bulk
Yeah,
to like deal with the cold water.
yeah,
So
yeah. And it's like okay, fine. Maybe Godzilla could he could ingest the low calorie like uranium when he's like powering up, but still, I think the bulk just sells it to me as something big.
right.
And even though we get this thing, he's like looking over a beach. He doesn't feel big. And again, the
No,
special effects are not done here. I'm willing to give it that. I'm just saying, it's interesting that they picked this shot for the trailer because it doesn't look great.
no. I mean, they're picking a lot of shots in this trailer, and I'm gonna be very honest right off the bat. Like they picked a monster, and I don't know if this is from classic Godzilla lore because I go deep, but not that deep.
Mhm.
Godzilla and Kong versus another ape-like creature is very boring to me. It's like Dracula fighting another vampire. I want to
Yeah.
see something different. I want to see something new.
Well,
Bring
okay.
out the turtle.
So potential spoilers, but the internet rumor mill says that yes, there is another monster that's that they will be fighting. This is
Okay,
not
good.
just it. I hope that's true because yeah, I'm on the same thing. I'm like okay, Godzilla versus Kong versus another monkey. If that's it, that is going to be a little
Right,
underwhelming, especially since King of the Monsters we had King fucking Ghidorah,
right. Oh,
and
you also
how I
had
like
Rodan
and you're
flying
telling
around
me
like
that
Starscream.
like this drunk bald monkey is like an upgrade from that.
Yes, the orangutan. Yeah,
Yes. All right. All right. So this is a cool shot. Godzilla's powering up his his breath.
yeah.
I don't
Got some.
hate Godzilla's new look. I know some people have a problem with it. Um,
I like the
this
radioactive look.
okay.
Now him running makes me laugh. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Like there is no planet where Kong is losing a foot race to this
Yeah.
fucking lizard.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's the thing. I've watched this several times and I couldn't really think of what I knew there was something about it that annoyed me that was bothering me. But on our Discord, Zach of all trades actually pointed it out correctly. He's like, both of these creatures are running like people right now. They're not running like monsters.
Right.
Like we've seen
Kong's
Kong
not.
before. Kong
Yes.
runs like an ape. Godzilla is a dinosaur, is like essentially a dinosaur. He doesn't need to swing his arms. His tail exists to to do the counterbalance. So
Yep.
the fact that they have these guys running like I don't know, like it's Rocky 3,
Like,
on the
exactly. It's
beach.
Rocky and Apollo on the beach. Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's what's like. First of all, there's no sense of scale again with the Hollow Earth, but just the way they're
Right.
moving, it doesn't look right. Now maybe they'll explain this. Maybe there'll be something there, but just the way they're running just seems at odds with how they have moved in the past and how a creature this size should actually be able to move. Like they look like they're going for a jog.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of bugs me. And all right, I think that's the end of the trailer.
Godzilla X Kong. I think we could probably get one more shot of something. Yeah, they usually stick. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Little monkey.
yeah.
Is that a mini Kong?
The fake looking. Hey, look, Mini Kong ain't got no junk.
Yeah. Lack of monkey junk,
I mean, I get it. PG-13 movie, but
Oh, sure.
take me
You
out of here.
can't have like Kong swinging around with his.
I want to see like Dr. Manhattan. I want to see that schlong just hanging right over that cliff there. They're like, holy fuck! Ah!
Just Kong pissing on things, just hanging from like the Empire State Building,
Yeah, I really don't like the way Little Kong. Like again, I understand they're not finished special effects. It's just it doesn't look good. Like Little Kong in particular. Yeah, like I'm not going to say he looks like Son of Godzilla bad, but he's not far off.
No, he's in a weird way. He's like that. What was that cartoon we watched when we were kids? Like the Godzuki, the God's
Yeah.
like yeah. It's like you need something small and cute for the audience, but like that doesn't.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Planet of the Apes. It has a very Planet of the Apes vibe on some of the look
Yeah.
on some of these apes, and I'm hoping that these aren't the monsters because the pantheon of cool monsters out there that they could choose from. I mean, like I think which one was it? Was it King of the Monsters where we got to hang out with Mothra and found out like, yeah, she's the queen of the monsters. And it
Yeah.
was, her essence is what's keeping some of them in sleep and slumber in check. And Godzilla was basically like, hey, he was there just like, he's like, they're like, he is the drunk uncle. If you step out of line, he's there to smack you back down.
I wanted to see more of Rodan because Rodan was just a punk.
Oh, he was
just picking
Starscream.
fights with everybody.
He switched sides so much. He was like the Bayverse Starscream. I could hear that voice of him just yeah, like that obsequious little shit, So
See, now would give me a lot of respect for this film, and I know they're not going to do it, but everybody treating Little Kong here like he's cute. And then they realize, then they remember, oh wait, this is 100-foot tall, 1,000-ton monster. As he playing with them, smashes like all the people and shit. And we're like, oh god!
Just crush it. Like the cut to the scene is just the triage center of everybody like just in broken pieces. Neck
It's like,
braces.
let me guess, you tried to play with the with the monster baby monkey, huh?
You tried to touch the monster monkey, didn't you? It's like, yeah, we tried to touch the monster monkey. We thought we would play with them, and only find out that the ticks and larvae in its hair are the size of like Rottweilers.
Yeah, like I hate to say it, I would almost kind of like to see a little bit of I hate to. Okay, one of the things I liked best about King of the Monsters was the stakes were high. It was basically like there was a lot of human misery going on. There's these monsters are released throughout the world. Like Boston's getting smashed. Like the implication there was a lot of people died, and for the most part the humans were like bugs there. Like not a single one of those monsters other than Mothra larva, which let's be honest was a stupid thing for the character to do, were the types of things you could want to get close to and be like, will you be my friend? Because it's like, no, this is a giant hell beast.
Yeah, exactly.
If it farts in your direction, you're dead.
Well, yes, we haven't really explored like the monster excrement. Like how many times is like like Godzilla taking a shit on on a town. Like it's in a weird way. I like that in stick with me in Pacific Rim where they after the monster died, they talked about how valuable the parts were. Like even its crap had so much phosphorus it could fertilize a field, and it's their body parts were like I really because clearly like I don't mean to deviate, but like I
No,
love that movie so much. I just showed it to my kid, and it's such an anime movie. And
yeah,
for a kid who loves anime, like this is like he doesn't want to watch many movies, so I have to be very picky with what I choose.
yeah. But
He
one thing
watched
about the
that and
movie I
fell in love with
like
it.
is that within the mythos that they set, I'm able to suspend disbelief and believe it all.
100%.
Yeah, and that's I guess what kind of makes it work for me. And just watching this trailer, that's what I'm having a little bit of trouble digesting. But yeah, I'm just thinking how like it'd be one thing to be like, okay, okay, you're in Tokyo, Godzilla's going through it, and like the building collapses on you and you die. That's fine. But it's another thing to be like, to look up and just Godzilla's letting loose with a giant turd as you look up, and this is how you die.
Like I said, just Kong's gonna piss on something, like, because obviously, okay, so in the last movie, they battled each other a couple of times and had
Yep.
to team up to stop Mecha Godzilla, and like it felt like the Hulk versus Thor, the first Avengers, where they kept battling
Yeah.
each other, but they still got in some cheap shots once in a while on each other. Especially once it looks like Godzilla has an axe made out of one of the scales on excuse me, Kong
Kong.
got an
Yeah.
axe made out of one of like Godzilla's scales, or a Godzilla-like creature, because that it
Yep.
could resist his fire breath, his atomic breath.
Mhm.
But is there just gonna be one of those like meet cute moments in this movie coming up where they're like, "Hey, it's you again. Hey, oh
Yeah.
buddy, do we gotta
Okay.
like?"
So you just brought up one of my biggest issues with Godzilla versus Kong, and it wasn't like the monster battles or anything. It was the fact that there was a lot of moments in that movie that they should have stopped and explained, or had people at least acknowledge, and instead it didn't. Like I can't think of a single scientist and even somebody who's studying Kong, who suddenly, if you notice that, not only were there other Kongs in the past, but they learned how to make fucking tools, giant
Right.
100-foot axes. That's shit that you would mention and be like, whoa, hold the boat here, let's talk about this crap. And nobody blinks when he grabs this thing. And those are what I call like basically the somehow Palpatine survived moments, where
Right.
it's a sloppy directorial move that you just it's almost like insulting to the audience when they do that, because they're just like, yeah, just go with it. And it's like, no, this is not something we should just go with. um like another scene was, which was pretty much the same, like later in that same scene, was they found the middle, the hollow earth power source, and basically they just 3D scanned it, and up on the surface they were able to replicate it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think science works that way.
It does not. But
Yeah,
they also, again, you hit the point. Like they had hovercraft, they had
yeah,
maglev hovercraft,
yeah,
flying ships and shuttles for the Hollow Earth. So, once they make that technological exponential leap, you kind of have to just say, if it's all bullshit, it's none bullshit, because you have to accept there's a giant lizard who comes out every so often.
yeah,
So, uh, but you're right. Again, the lore shows that there were a lineage of Kongs, like even on Kong Skull Island. He's like, he had parents. We saw the
yeah,
bodies. He visited the graves. We know that one of the giant skullwalkers came out and killed his parents. And like the Kongs of that island were meant to guard that island from things that come out. For some reason, they knew their job. Sit here, protect the giant things that exist on these, like the giant wildebeests, but eat the giant octopuses, and then kill the skullwalkers when they come out. Great. But there's a history down there. There's a throne.
yeah.
Clearly, he's got the monkey infinity gauntlet on his hand, and I don't know what that's about. I don't know if that's the symbol for the king of the Kongs or what. I mean, I'm sure some
Well,
human is going to give us
one
a
theory, which is even wackier, is that when he first fights the thin monkey, he gets his arm broken. So they apparently, so they maybe build him a giant cast, which honestly I'm not sure feels like any more realistic than him finding the giant monkey infinity gauntlet.
that idea that the thin monkey breaks his hand and they have to cast it is the dumbest fucking thing. And I hope they do not. Okay, it's one of those like, okay, I get the humans are in this movie to be our exposition dumps. To like, what
Yeah.
do you think it means? It probably means that there's an ancient society, and they fill in the jibber jabber that connects our tissues to our brain, so we
Mhm.
get to the next big monkey fight. Um, that being said, I like the idea that there was a because look in the Hollow Earth, they showed like small pyramids in that trailer, so
Mhm.
clearly there were as above as below, that the pyramids were there to actually like mark the place below. I don't fucking know, but he's got the symbol of the king of the Kongs, and like I hope there's more to it than that, because it's like
Yeah.
right now it literally is just borrowing from Marvel. He's got Stormbreaker, he's got Thor's axe, and now he's got the Infinity Gauntlet. And for some reason, Godzilla has mood spikes. I'm not gonna lie, this trailer does very little for me compared to the last
Yeah.
couple of movies. This looks like a step backwards. And
Yeah.
I'll see it, and I'm sure when it comes out, I'll go see it and you'll go see it and we'll talk shit about it later. Or maybe we'll be surprised. But right now, I'm
Well, yeah.
not feeling
Well,
hype.
that's what I mean. It's like if like it feels like they're Joel Schumachering up the that, and and yeah, I know there are people who like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. I'm not one of them. I'm just gonna say that. And yeah, this seems to be taking a series that started off kind of serious. And once again, you don't have to be super serious with giant monsters. There were plenty of goofy parts in in Godzilla King of the Monsters and stuff. But it seems like it's taking something that should be kind of a serious thing, which, let's be honest, giant monsters that pretty much we can't kill with even nuclear weapons, kind of a serious topic, I would think. And it
Right.
feels like they're kind of just purposely goofing it up. And I'm like, I don't know if that, I don't know if I like that, even though, again, I've seen Godzilla versus Megalon. I know Godzilla can be goofy. I understand that. But in the context of this series, it doesn't seem like it makes sense.
Right.
Because you go from okay, dark, also the second movie's pretty dark. Um, Godzilla versus or Kong Skull Island is not dark, but it kind of takes itself pretty seriously. You know, even Godzilla versus Kong, there's parts of it that takes seriously. It's not too goofed up, but here it almost seems like they're kind of going Superman 3 all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, yeah. I see what you're
Yeah,
saying with there. I agree. I think the 2014 Godzilla was very serious and very tonal, and it was like it was trying to be an art piece using
yeah,
Godzilla and its scope and the
yeah,
scenery. And I respect. Here's the thing, I respect it. I was a little bored, and it's kind of like I
yeah,
fast forward to the good stuff.
yeah.
The action scenes and the flying scenes. I truly don't care about the family dynamic of the dad and the
No,
son and all.
no,
I wish I could care, but it's like every time there's a war, every time an alien invade movie, there's going to be a scene where dad's sitting in his car with his kids are talking too loud, as kids are wont to do. The dad's going to look in the rearview mirror, see explosions and shit. He's going to get out of the car. What is going on? It's every one of those movies does that, and so and a lot of these things, these monster movies do the same thing. We have to fill this
yeah,
runtime because CGI is expensive.
yeah. And Gareth Edwards, I mean, the movie's competently shot, but it just the inexplicable thing of, okay, we've already seen what the monster looks like. There's no need to keep cutting the fuck away from it.
Well, yes,
Don't cut away from it to the human drama, dude. We're here to see a movie called Godzilla, not not Scarlet Witch bangs Quicksilver.
now there's some nice things about that. Okay, hey, they're not really brother and sister. I'm just
I
saying, And
know.
weirdly enough, in the Ultimates 3, for those who know
Yes.
comic book fans, know that Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver did have Lannister lust and they were banging
Oh my
each other.
god, that not only did they bang, but apparently Wolverine was like a voyeur watching it.
Yes, yes.
The Marvel Ultimate Universe, I wish they hadn't fucked it up because it was like batshit glorious.
It kind of was
Yeah,
like I think it was Hulk screaming, I'm gonna kill Freddie Prince Jr. because that's who was dating
yeah,
Betty at the time, Betty Banner, and who did he was it Blob that ate the Wasp or something like that?
yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
there was all sorts of crazy shit that went on in the Ultimate Universe. It was like the Marvel Universe, but everybody was on meth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, they tried to go for quote the grounded thing, and grounded
Yeah,
works for 3 or 4 issues before you have to start realizing these are people with superpowers. And much like
yeah,
our topic, these are monsters. Now,
yeah,
I'm also a lore junkie. Like, I want the story with enough lore that keeps me involved. So I forget which movie it was, but it might have been King of the Monsters. But like, they showed all these monsters from around the world, and each one seemed to serve a function. There was a Sasquatch like giant, like kaiju, and clearly his job was to patrol the Pacific Northwest and beat down anything that like any bad versions thereof. And, like these monsters had a task. Now, who gave them their task? Were they just born to it? Is it just like that is their biologic function? I don't know, but that's the kind of stuff I'm interested in. I'm hoping the Monarch series goes into stuff
yeah.
like that because I
And
love this
I think
idea.
it's trying. Yeah,
Okay.
But no, I'm the same way. Like I got to be honest. Like one thing, I understand why they did it because they needed to get Kong off the Skull Island because otherwise.
Right.
But like it really annoyed me that essentially like the parts of like Godzilla vs Kong that were on Skull Island were really stunted. It was basically like Skull Island's been destroyed and we built this giant this giant biodome over it, and Kong's living in the Truman Show, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I really wanted to see
Learning
more of
sign
Skull
language.
Island, you know.
Right. Well, see, I want to see Kong learn more sign language or something. Go fuck yourselves. Like
Oh
it's
my god.
I. The other problem, like when we were talking about this trailer, you kept talking about the sense of scale, and it irks me because it's been a repeating process in a lot of CGI heavy movies.
Yeah.
Because if you don't see something next to something else, you don't get the sense of scale. Like I
Yeah.
I assume you saw Ant-Man 3. Like I did not go to the theaters. I
Yes.
waited till Disney Plus. But when they're
Yeah.
down in the quantum realm, like I couldn't tell that he was giant until he had to stand next to a city. Because like him and his daughter, you're a giant, you're a giant. I can't tell. You just are two normal people talking to
Yeah.
each other because there's nothing around you that's telling me
Oh
that
yeah.
like
Yeah.
there's a
When
sense of
you're just
scale.
standing around rocks are not really great for scale.
Right.
Um, that and yeah, you're right. It's like you know, I love the concept of the Hollow Earth and stuff, but I also kind of like I'm like, all right, is it like there needs to be something there to to remind you that these are giant monsters, and if they're moving around like they're if they're running at full speed, pumping their arms and stuff, that doesn't feel giant monster to me. And again, I watched Pacific Rim. I bought into everything going on there, but once again, it has to do with the lore that's established. And the
Well,
lore that was
also,
established there kind of made sense. This feels like it's breaking the lore. And
well,
yes,
Del
I know
Toro
it's giant
also knew when
monsters.
to
It can be
use.
goofy and fun.
Here's the other problem, and it's like this is like I have an art background, you have an art background. If you want to show scale, turn the camera up, and Guillermo del Toro did that. So when
Yes.
the Jaegers are running, it's you're looking up at them from an audience
Yes.
standpoint. It's you're not. So when those two monsters they're running at the
Yeah.
camera, and that doesn't do anything for me.
So a low budget example of that is back when Toho was making, I guess, the Heisei series, the Godzilla versus Destroyer, Godzilla versus Space Godzilla.
Right.
One of the guys who did the Gamera films, they came out with the new Gamera trilogy, and the new Gamera trilogy, quality wise, pretty much kicked their ass, even though they had like half the budget. And part of the reason was that most of the shots were shot at low angles, so it felt like the monsters, even though the movies were made more cheaply, it felt like everything was bigger. It wasn't just like shot in typical Toho scope of okay, we're just gonna have a couple of fake looking plants or fake looking building backdrops, and the monsters are doing wrestling moves on each other. So yeah, and as a result, the movie's like I watched was it Gamma versus was it it's not ISIS, not not Gamma versus ISIS, but it
Gamma
was no
versus
yeah,
ISIS.
Gamma versus Legion was just the second movie, and Legion is kind of a dopey looking thing. It's kind of like an insect creature, but the movie works because once again it's shot from a low angle. Everything feels big, even though they're rubber suits.
So we danced around it. We never actually talked about. We talked about the good ones. What about the bad ones? What about like the Godzilla from 1997?
Okay, so I
Was
didn't
it
have a
was it
problem.
97, 90? What
Yeah,
was
it was
that
like
one?
97, 98. All right, so if you watch just the first 15 minutes of that movie before they get like just after they get to New York and the New York attack, it's actually not a bad movie. It's They make the inexplicable decision of one, we're gonna um what was it, evacuate New York, so it takes away the danger, and two, we're gonna make the military incompetent, which just really did not work in this context. And three, the main actress of this movie probably wouldn't get the lead in a porno film. She was just so bad. Yeah, it was. I don't know. Like I didn't have a problem with the design of Godzilla. It was just the movie itself. It just missed the point of what a Godzilla movie should be. 100%
Okay.
missed the mark.
Now, what about Godzilla being a female and having children? And how do you say? What was your stance? You good with that?
Again, I mean, I thought it was an unnecessary change, and it felt to me like the whole scene with the baby Godzillas felt like it literally felt like Jurassic Park envy.
That's exactly what I
Yeah,
was, dude. Get out of my brain because I remember seeing this in the theater in 1998.
yeah,
I forget where I was stationed at the time. I think I was stationed back here in Maryland. We went and saw that summer when it came out, and I remember watching this. I'm like, there were some moments actually during the baby Godzilla scenes. Like someone said, fuck your raptors. We got little Godzillas. And the scenes weren't bad. They weren't bad for the time. I remember like that actually had a little bit of tension, but clearly someone had raptor envy and
Yeah,
it showed. So
yeah. And like for his entire series, Godzilla is has been meant to be this like allegory of like of nature given form and stuff. Like Godzilla is a force of nature. That's like there's like a sense of awe there that you lose when it's like, okay, here's a monster and he got hit by two missiles and now he's dead.
right. Of course.
That just
You
tells
can't
me
kill him
that
too quickly.
that just tells me that like you didn't get the point of Godzilla. So it's like, again, I don't hate the design. Like, the redesign was fine, but they basically like I remember seeing like an interview and they were like, well, we really didn't want to do like the atomic breath because it didn't feel realistic. Like, but a 200-foot tall mutated iguana
Yeah.
did.
See, was that the one where it had the plates light up with lightning kind of thing? I liked that effect.
No,
Or
he
was that
didn't. No, it didn't. Like there's a scene where there's lightning in the background, but
oh,
every
okay.
scene where Godzilla quote unquote breathes fire is literally just a car exploding. Like that, you could tell they put it in like in post production
I
because
see.
because apparently they didn't like the fact that people were like, "Fuck you, dudes, this is not Godzilla."
All right. Rick, I'm gonna ask you a very important question. Pitch me your ultimate Godzilla, Kong, whatever. Pitch me your ultimate monster movie. As a fan, what is that you want to see more than anything else? What is the story? You don't have to give me all the plot points, but give me what you would like to see.
I mean, Godzilla King of the Monsters hit a lot of the marks for me. It was
Okay.
pretty much what I want to see. I mean, I what I would have liked to have seen from Godzilla King of the Monsters is like at the end I would have liked to seen it be like more like Destroy All Monsters, where we see
Okay.
a lot more of those. Like we get teased with like 17 Titans, we only get to see like two or three extras, and I'm like, I want to see like more. I want and probably would have doubled the budget, but like yeah, I want to see like scenes of these creatures destroying the world and such. Um, like like what I liked about that movie was humans were bugs in that movie. We like we were pretty much inconsequential. Um, I really like that in like in that, and that's one thing. That's one reason I can't stand like the Bayformers movies is because it always has to be. It's like, oh yeah, the humans solve everything. Yeah, well, yeah, okay. We beat these 40-foot transforming robots because just we're plucky or so, whatever the fuck.
Because we got Cade Yeager and he can carry a
Yeah,
sword. He's a transformer doctor. For me, you're kind of like again, get out of my brain. I want to see the Avengers version of the monsters, and I want like King Ghidorah to come back and like bring with like some kind of like cosmic Cthulhu monsters. Like he is the herald for these other things coming, and these creatures have either been like maybe there's a lore dump that like maybe they were monsters, maybe they were one time a prehistoric version of man that was mutated into these things, and like they've existed in preparation for the thing from space that's coming. Because if they've already teased that Ghidorah comes from not our
yeah.
world, bring it here and bring the fight to us and give me like that Wakanda scene in Infinity War where I want to see all the good monsters good and I want to
Mhm.
see against all the Cthulhu monsters and just an epic battle and let Ken Watanabe like narrate it for God's like just let them fight and I want to see that movie. I want to see them like diving deep into the lore, bring out the monsters, have the Avengers type of
Yeah.
moment of them, and like I want to see them at their best. I want to see some die. I want to see some good stuff. That you've teed up almost the perfect
Yeah.
Thanksgiving dinner in King of the Monsters,
Yeah.
and I feel like you're
And
wasting
like
it now.
yeah, and like you could set it up with like you could set it up with those ancient civilizations, almost kind of like like Zack Snyder's like Justice League set up like that early fight with Darkseid, except do it more competently. Uh,
Right.
and yeah, like you could like this is the reason like the humans of like the early humans like like worship these things, like they managed to defeat the space monsters, so they built shrines to them and such. Yeah, like yeah,
Well,
that
you've got like all these ancient aliens and Mayan calendar, enough conspiracy theories out there, like say, "Oh no, the whole clock was different because that was we know they were coming back." You know, it's kind of like I liked when the humans fought the predators and aliens in that one Predator versus Alien movie in the underwater pier. Excuse me, the Pyramid Under the Ice Cap movie.
Hmm.
I like that because it was just a lore dump with all the monsters fighting each other. It was a bad movie, but I loved it because it's exactly what I wanted. And I want a $300 million budget version of that with these cast of insane kaiju.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd watch the fuck out of that.
You should write the fuck out of that.
Hell, you even want to throw in some, even want to throw in like, some Jaeger tech where the humans just like try to, like, maybe try to do Mechagodzilla.
Well, they've already built it. They built Mechagodzilla. Why can't they build like some kind of like, oh God. Okay. Stick with me. It gets worse. What if they build armor for the kaiju and they turn into a mecha kaiju of themselves? They basically like they combine, they turned into their version of Devastator,
And you said write this. I'm way late on this story, but I actually do have a story started that is.
Ooh.
It's called Reign of Giants. I'm only maybe 10,000 words into it because like I know the entire story, but like for some reason I don't want to, like, my brain doesn't want to write it right now.
Understood.
But yeah,
I know that
actually
feeling.
do have a kaiju story that is started.
Dude, that sounds amazing. Let me know how that's going because I love that kind of shit, and it's just we have so many stories of giants from our myth, like even the Scots and the Celts, they have all these giant stories. So giant monsters, giant anything, and like making us feel small and like having to deal with it. It's like it's why it still exists. It's why why we love it. We love knowing that we could be squished or eaten or destroyed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 100%. I mean, part of the reason, like, I love this stuff is not because I want to see the humans win, but I want to be reminded that we're only at the top of the food chain because something else lets us be.
yeah, exactly.
All right, I think we've kind of eaten up a good hour with that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this dive into Godzilla lore. I know we didn't touch upon like the Showa era and stuff like that. I'm more than happy to do another one of these and talk about and sit down and be like, okay, and let's talk about Godzilla versus Mothra and Godzilla raids again. But this is probably it for about now. Gibby, thank you for joining and for listening to me.
My pleasure, brother.
To me rant about all things Godzilla. And yeah, I guess we will catch you again next time. Back on Authors and Dragons, and I believe next week will be a game.
Yep, I believe so.
All right. Until then, guys, peace out.
Bye.
Authors and Dragons is brought to you under a Creative Commons license, meaning you are free to share this material so long as credit is given to those who created it, which is us, the people you just heard play the game. Opening and closing themes performed by the Gore Core 4.
Authors and Dragons!